Hello, and welcome to the Hearth and Hammer. We are a family-friendly D&D campaign, and we're so glad that you're joining us today. We are on episode 31 of Campaign 2 in our home brew world of Xennelia. So, if you are just joining us this evening, we have Sulyce playing Erebus, the Elven rogue. We have CJ playing Tika Tik, the Halfling Ranger. Slash Artificer now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's coming down the line. We have Kyle playing Lorys, the Genasi Sorcerer. Dave playing Vigo, the Human Cleric. And Skol playing the Half-orc Werebear Blood Hunter for now. So, last time on Hearth and Hammer, the heroes arrived at Crater City, traveling across multiple lift bridges to enter the Lake Island city proper. After entering the main gate, the party were processed by a gnome named Alan Pennywhistle and assigned to the vendor stall Green 25 grain and baked goods. Tika Tik took the wagon to the trade park, while the rest of the Amigos split up to ask around in the local taverns, specifically the ones named the Brass Bolt and the Copper Canteen. After assigning Pit Brother guard duty, Tika Tik went looking for a Tinkershop to seek out magical enhancement for her firearms. She discovered a beautiful forge and Tinkershop, combined with an inn of rich brown wood and green metal plating, named the Hearth and Hammer. Entering the Tinkershop, she met... That is the name. She met Wiltix Windgrip and attempted to communicate her desired enhancements. However, after initially struggling in her communication, she chose to telepathically communicate with Wiltix. He did not at all seem surprised and quickly set to work sketching and enhancing Tika's designs of a modified Sparrowhawk pistol. Meanwhile, Vigo and Lorys went to the Brass Bolt to question the locals about future events and individuals who could possibly look at their mysterious clock. Erebus and Skol went to the Copper Canteen, where they didn't find out much, but Skol did enter into an arm wrestling contest with an old Xennelia, and with Skol's breastplate on the line against a future item from the Xennelia shop, as well as information, Skol came out the victor. After winning the arm wrestling contest as a werebear, Skol and Erebus closed the tavern, making a room full of new friends from the excitement. Eventually, the party returned and turned in for the night at the wagon. So, Vigo's Amigos. It is the next morning. You have awoken to, or Skol, were you trying to do something that same night? I was thinking maybe it was going to be later. Yeah. So you all have awoken the next morning, refreshed, mark a long rest if you have not in a while. And there were a few things that we talked about that we would basically just kind of go ahead and kind of, without having to RP every one of them, say that you basically wake up and kind of get done in the morning. Skol, having made a plethora of friends and bragging about his baking, he got up very early and went in search of ingredients to begin pumping out all of the delicious baked goods as people began lining up before the work hours to get some of the promised treats.
I would say it's probably like because he's Villafandria is known for cooking their meats too, so he's probably doing some sort of combination. It's probably like a bread, and he's like, you know what, I could probably put like some sort of sausage in there, a little bit of cheese. Let's call it a skolache. That's probably what he calls.
Exactly where it's going, dude. That or a meat pie, like a breakfast quiche, maybe. But yeah, the skolache was. I literally was thinking that, so it's perfect. Canon.
Skolaches.
Skolaches. All right.
I'm probably gonna call them that from now on.
You should absolutely do that. Okay. All right. Vigo. He got up, and you were going in search of what?
I don't know. So
you were getting the finishing straps for your breastplate.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know if we were gonna play it out or not.
No. So we're not gonna play it out.
I have a breastplate. So I had a breastplate, but no harness, to fit it into. So that was
you gotta hold it on
my thing. Yeah, I wanted to not have to have one hand just holding it there in front of my chest.
Yeah, doesn't count as a shield when you do that.
That's right.
Okay, so yes, you were able to find that and easily procure it. We'll say to retrieve said harness it'll cost you like 5 gold.
All right.
So
can do.
Let's see. Tika Tik, I assume that you are getting up and heading towards the Hearth and Hammer.
Heck yeah.
Okay. We'll get to that in a minute. Lorys, after maybe initially going with Vigo, I think you all were going to go in search of information on the clock. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And Erebus, you were going to go in search of the bard.
Yeah.
Or were you wanting to accompany others and then go do that later?
I think I would accompany somebody and kind of with the intent of keeping my ear open for this mysterious bard. My intent is they're traveled. They probably have experiences and information that others don't. So I want to befriend this individual to learn more about maybe their travels. So I'd probably go and with Tika Tik to visit the Hearth and Hammer, just because I'd be interested in the crafting that's going on.
Yeah, she would have been for Tika Tik. She would have been very talkative about it, especially because you would have been having a hard time keeping up with her sign language for sure. So yeah.
What language is that? I can't.
Let's see here.
Do you mind if I accompany you?
No, I think it's great. I think she probably would have like brought out one of the rounds they worked on just to like show it off. Like, check this out. Funk.
Yeah.
And then just incendiary bolt like right next to the ground, just flame everywhere. Like this
I don't know if
awesome.
he's got it. I don't think he had it quite finished yet. For you to take it back to. So.
That works. That works.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be so good. So good. You guys don't even know.
Because there's a level of enchantment that's going on, and there's so.
Plus, if you use that in town, they'd probably charge us extra just for being here.
We'll say that we were igniting a flame to cook baked goods. Come on, you've done worse.
I mean, it's not wrong.
I just can't wait to start using spells and like just laying it out. Like this is gonna. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay. So, who wants to go first? Clock or
let's do clock.
Tinkershop?
Let's do clock.
Okay, clock. So,
it's about time.
Vigo and Lorys, you all are heading off after getting Vigo's breastplate fully equipped. Heading off in search of the shop that you did learn about as possibly the best place to go begin searching.
I feel so much more maneuverable.
Good.
This is great.
Yeah.
Loris. You should try one.
I can't. Too heavy, too cumbersome. Maybe someday.
I feel like Vigo keeps stopping and like shaking. I mean, like it doesn't rattle, you know. Like
if you
Like
think
does
that's
one of these.
comfortable, you should try my mage armor sometime. It's very breezy. So, well,
Maybe we should swap armor someday, just for a day.
If you don't be bogged down, but we try something. Where's this shop at?
So I believe that you were searching out the Institute of Iron.
Institute of Iron.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the guilds in the city, and they have several shops, and so they're not all the same. But you're easily enough knowing what it is you're searching for. You find it in one of the gnome districts, and it is a very mechanically focused shop.
Did you say gnome district or known?
Gnome,
district?
yeah,
Okay.
Gnome, gnome,
Okay.
gnomish.
Okay.
Because there are. So again, within the city, just as a reminder, it is primarily a gnomish city, but very close in second and third are Zitali and Sundwarfs. Regionally, all three of those are here. Also, those three have a lot of influence, especially regionally, with tinkering, artificery, blacksmithing, all of the kind of like crafting. And this is primarily a crafter, it is a crafting and tinkering like guild city. It is all about all the kind of like craftsmanships, artisans, guilds that are in Xennelia, and they essentially run Crater City. All of the guilds. There's a council. That's about as far as you know at the moment. That there's some sort of council from them.
Okay.
So, you all travel to the Institute of Iron.
Mhm.
One of their shops. You find the one that is, like I said, the more mechanical focused, and you enter into the shop. It's, definitely mostly metal as far as buildings go. The door isn't, but there's definitely a lot of kind of like metal built into it. Some looking like plates having been reinforced onto it for you don't know what purpose. It kind of looks like armor, but you also kind of get the sense that maybe they do things in here that they don't want out of the building. So, but entering into it, you enter into this very industrial kind of low tech mechanical shop, and there are not quite the fine like small gear items in the shop. But there are a few smaller items, and you walk in, and there's an old gnome sitting behind the desk. He's sitting there, just kind of like writing some papers, and he's kind of filing them as it's like early in the morning. He's just busy into his work. Doesn't really kind of pay close attention as you walk in.
I kind of look around the small items to see if anything looks interesting. And then maybe try to get the attention of the shopkeeper.
Okay. If you want to look around, give me an investigation check.
17.
17. Okay. So most of the items run along the lines of more medium-sized kind of like mechanical items. You're not sure what most of them do, but they look very much like they're towards almost like civil engineering projects, things to help the city, things to help different maybe government departments or something like that. You know, it's like there looks like there's something over in the corner that looks like some sort of mechanical ladder that kind of extends upwards. Different kind of like mundane items. However, there is one shelf behind the proprietor that looks like it has a number of smaller mechanical things. And you do, in fact, see there are a couple of clocks that look like alarms. You see there are a couple of things that look like some sort of like communication devices that like sit in pairs. You know, kind of like old school telephones with the horn that you talk into, and then, you know, like cables or something that go, you know, it's like the tin cans, right? Basically, you got two of them. But definitely a little more steampunk and aesthetic. But yeah, as you get his attention, he looks up and goes, yes, what can I do for you all today?
Oh, well, we're browsing around and we're interested in some of these clocks you have, and we kind of have a clock that we're trying to get a little more information about ourselves.
Oh, well, yes, you've come to the right place. We do work on some clocks. Is this particular device broken? Is it just you're trying to find out the history of it? What kind of information are we trying to find?
History of it. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry,
It
do we
seems
have
to
the
be-
clock with us? It's really big, right?
I mean, it's kind of like a mantle clock, so it's not.
So we have brought it with us then.
Okay, so if you come in and you set it down in front of him, then you know after his initial questions. Well, what do you say, Vigo?
It seems to be, this device seems to be headed towards something in time, and we want to find out what that is. We have reason to believe that the Iron
Institute of Iron.
Guild? An Institute of Iron may have produced this originally. Do you know anything about it, or who may have made it?
So he begins inspecting it here, and he's immediately fascinated because this is definitely an abnormal clock. You know, it doesn't display time like all the ones he has behind him here. But he's looking at it. He is fascinated by it. You know, he's like gently touching things. You see he tries to like move one of the hands manually, and it stops. It doesn't let him move it. Actually, like most clocks where you can go ahead and turn the hands manually. You know, set the clock to a certain time. It doesn't give to his initial proddings. He says, "Well, this is quite fascinating. It is definitely a clock on a different level than what we produce here. You think the Institute of Iron was the ones who crafted it? Because this looks quite old. While I would love to claim it, I don't know that anyone that I know of could have made it, because it would honestly far outdate us, those living at the moment, at least. I could maybe try to mess with it, but I'm assuming you don't want me to disassemble this."
I don't think we want to disassemble it.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. But you're wanting to know maybe what it's pointing to? I don't know if I can say what it's pointing to. I might be able to give you an approximate range of a date, because this is definitely more along the lines of a calendar clock as opposed to something that keeps time in a day.
Yeah, that would be a great start if we knew when it was going to reach its next milestone.
Next 2
call
events
it.
or next event. There's
Okay.
you know, supposedly 2 events
well,
left on it.
It might take me a little time to study it. Do you want to wait here? Or do you want to leave it with me? It is your choice. Like I said, I know this is old, it's valuable, but how would you like to go about it?
Does it seem like a nice part of town, DM?
Give me a perception
Safe
check.
enough.
Well, I'll assist him with it because I'm trying to kind of gauge the same situation.
Okay. Take a d8.
So,
24 plus whatever Kyle has.
Well,
plus
okay.
8.
32.
You
So-
are in part of the town.
Drunk.
Yeah, you're in
Know
part of
every
the town.
person in the town.
No, I mean, like, as far as the part of town goes, no concerns.
Okay.
The amount of detail, or the amount of like security and stuff within the town has, makes you feel safe. It's not like there's any kind of like as much of like a shady places that you've seen so far. More to the point, it's almost like every little section that belongs to a different nation within Xennelia almost has its own security. So they're all kind of securing themselves and watching everybody else. Not hostily, but now do
How
you
do I
trust
feel
him?
about this guy? Yeah.
Let me do this. Because you had such a high perception check, give me an insight check with advantage and a d8.
I got that D8.
So pre D8, it's a 20 dirty.
Plus
Okay. Plus 5.
A 25.
So between the two of you, you get the sense that he doesn't seem to be trying to swindle you out of it or steal it from you. But you also get the sense that he definitely wants this information for himself as well. Or at least maybe for his organization. You're not sure, him, organization, but he is also seems just as fascinated to find out what this is pointing to.
Could you give us just a minute to talk amongst ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I turn over to Lorys and tell him,
Good boy.
I don't know if you got the same vibe off this guy, but he seems honest enough. Town seems safe enough, but he seems overly curious in this. I don't know what the information would do for him, but I think our options would be to leave it or take it away from him now.
Yeah, and I feel like if we take it away, then we don't get any information, or we have to start from scratch somewhere else. I feel like we can maybe get some good information from him. I just feel like kind of maybe worst case scenario is that I don't want the information about this to get I don't want to miss it. I just want to make sure that we get all of the information back.
Yeah, so we could stay and watch him. I don't know if we could understand it like he does, but that might give us a better clue if he ends up telling us something wrong at the end.
Yeah, he tells. Well, I mean, I think ultimately,
or if he tries to deceive us with what it means.
Yeah, if he just kind of shorts us on what he learns about it, and then he goes and tells somebody else.
Okay.
But hopefully,
I'm happy to wait.
Discern if he's being straightforward with it. So,
Sure.
yeah, we'll sit around and wait, and then maybe kind of look around the shop some more, see if there's anything.
Okay.
Interesting. It sounds like there's mostly mechanical devices in here, and not necessarily.
Yeah, nothing's magical.
No,
I mean, this is definitely a kind of mechanical workshop.
Extending ladder sounded kind of interesting.
So Vigo turns around and says,
big.
"Okay, can we watch?"
Yes, absolutely. It may take a few hours. If you're okay with sticking around, we can work on it. I will have, if as far as some of my other things now to take a look at it early, and also to, kind of push it in front of the line for other things. I will require a little bit of an upfront cost, just so that I don't finish and then you be gone having gotten all the information you need from it. So, if you don't mind, I would just go ahead and ask a charge of 5 gold for upfront, and then if there's any kind of mechanical repair or anything that needs to happen, we'll discuss that when it comes to it.
I can do that. And actually, if you can give us your word that you're going to tell us everything about this and not kind of withhold anything, I'll give you 6 gold.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get into it then.
Okay. Does he seem like he's like on the up and up on that agreement? It seemed like he.
Yeah, I mean, like he seems. Yeah, like
Okay.
I mean, like here's the thing. Like he's again. You don't get the sense with that. I won't make you roll again. You guys rolled pretty high twice. You get the sense that like he's willing to tell you everything he knows about it, but you can tell he's also very curious about it for himself, or at least
Sure.
he's excited to get the information.
So not
as well.
like in a selfish way, but he's also just
Right.
Fair to say.
Right.
Okay.
At this point, yeah, no. So
All right.
especially with you guys standing here looking over your shoulder. So okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna come back to you guys occasionally, have you do a couple rolls for kind of just seeing how you guys progress in that. But while you're basically waiting and watching, we're gonna go to Erebus and Tika Tik. No, you don't know. Before we do that, we're gonna go to Skol. Skol. You get through the morning.
Selling
Selling
Skolaches like crazy.
Skolaches like crazy. You sell out of them. You sell out of the all the other pastries you have. Honestly, because of the word of mouth of the massive teal, half-orc who turned into some sort of werebear, arm wrestling, the old Zatali. You're somewhat of a local legend now.
Great.
And so you are there. You are serving up everything as you go. Give me a perception check.
$17.
Okay.
Is this
So
based on smell? Hearing?
No, it's not based. Hearing. Yes. So, if you have advantage on hearing, then
I do.
okay.
That one was lower, so 17.
Okay. So yeah, let's basically over the course of the morning. This is just you being attentive to things that you hear from people talking as they enjoy these delicious treats, to everything going on throughout the day. All the news that you probably wanted to glean last night, you begin to hear a little bit. You don't necessarily hear anything about big events happening. You do hear people talking about the council. So the ruling council, like some of them are complaints, some of them are talking about there's a few people that talk about their council member. Not necessarily knowing exactly what that means, but typically it kind of would be denoted by maybe this specific race talking about their council member, and this specific race talking about their council member as well. And then having, like talking about things being brought up at the next meeting, asking what they're going to do about the rumored shade mist bans that have been sighted in the countryside. You hear about the defenses have been bolstered a little bit around the city, but that no one has really approached them, seeing as they are a very defensible city, being in this kind of like island, this large island in the middle of the lake. They're a little harder to get to, so seems like enemies opted to just pass them by, and everyone seems to be thankful for that. So yeah, that's just kind of like the general sense of information you get, the general sense that no one seems to be really alarmed because nothing has really happened. No one's attacked the city, but everyone's kind of like, this is kind of a weird rumor. So yeah, you kind of just, that's the kind of information you get throughout this morning. And then, was there anything else that you wanted to specify that you're doing that morning?
Nope, just interacting with those, selling the goods.
Okay.
Trying to just listen, but
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Partway through the morning, you do catch a glimpse. Actually, it was whenever you were buying ingredients early. You did catch a glimpse of a certain sigil.
great.
And you made note of its location. So we'll leave that at that. All right. Tika and Erebus.
Let's do it.
All right.
Go.
So as you walk to the Hearth and Hammer, Erebus, you notice Tika is almost skipping. And she continually is just like talking quite quickly with her hands as she progresses along. And she is just describing all of the cool things that she saw in the previous day. Talking about Wiltix and how he's just like a genius, that he has been, he was reworking some of the things that she didn't even realize were part of the mechanics. He even gave the idea of maybe forming specific enchanted ammunitions. Going on and on about it. So you arrive at the Hearth and Hammer. You see the very lovely front-facing, edifice of this building. And again, it looks like two buildings fused together into one. One side is an inn. It is a very cozy inn that is somehow the aesthetic works with the Tinkershop that is next to it. And both of them are this kind of like there's more kind of like dark, rich wood browns in the inside of thing, and then there's more like green metals and stuff in the Tinkershop side of things. And it's very well put together. Not ornate, but just like a excellent craftsmanship. And the two doors are actually also two different doors, even though you kind of open them up and it's just kind of an entryway that one leads to the tavern side and one leads to the Tinkershop side. Tika just bursts in through the door, going towards the Tinkershop side. You catch a glimpse of tables set up in there. You catch the glimpse of a rather tall, red-haired sun dwarf behind the counter there, talking with a few patrons. Still kind of morning breakfast time for some of the people, or dinner, people coming off overnight shifts. But moving over there, you see in the Tinkershop, there is an apprentice in there, Tika. And you see that this apprentice, very young gnome, who is working on something else, but is hard at work, working on this very, very minute little devices, and just completely focused on it. So
So an apprentice is there, okay?
and there's the noises of the shop itself are still going, like there's people in the back that you're fairly certain are doing work. There's like hammering, there's all sorts of sound going.
Is he receiving attention? Is this apprentice receiving attention from Wiltix at the moment?
You don't see Wiltix.
Okay.
Again, this is like you
I'm trying to see if
showing
she'd be
up.
jealous. I mean,
This
would
is
probably
like-
be jealous if she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Wiltix isn't in here at the moment. But you
Okay.
you see this apprentice is just working, like maybe he's like the opener for the shop. Because it's like 8:30. You guys are there like first thing. Like you've had a few of Skol's Skolaches, and then you came straight here. So no, he's by himself working.
Okay.
It's kind of that early morning, light coming in the windows, just the energy of a new day. and he's just hard at work on these. He's got several little devices on the counter that he's working on.
So does she kind of recognize what he's doing based on what she knew or learned yesterday with Wiltix? Like, does she, like, the skill he's on, is it at such a low level that she's like, oh, I remember us working on this kind of thing yesterday?
You would probably recognize a few of the tools that he's working with, the things that he's doing. He seems a little bit more advanced, being an apprentice in a tinker shop, you know. But also more advanced in like the tinkering side of things, not necessarily artificery.
Okay. She's into kind of gather all this in. So you come in. I tried to signal the person who brought me the ale the day before and point to this guy. Point to.
Okay.
Point to
Yeah, absolutely.
Erebus.
So you seeing Wiltix is not there, step around the corner and kind of wave down it, and Brackhill is there. He's talking, and he spies you kind of across the way, and he gives you a nod and a grin, and he says, kind of gives you a I'll get you kind of thing.
I'm immediately ribbing Erebus like
It's never too early for a drink.
Wait for this.
Erebus, she's like hitting you in the knee, like right there. Like she's like, right in the side of the knee. Yeah.
Okay, I get you're excited. Calm down.
And so, do you go in over there like to wait like at a table or something?
I probably was just really trying to like take care of this guy, and then I'm gonna go back to the tinker shop to watch the apprentice.
Okay, yeah. Do you wait kind of in the doorway there, or do you kind of follow Tika back over to the tinker shop? Erebus.
So I'm probably going to kind of stay in the entryway and just look around and get my lay of the land. It's my first time here, so I'm trying to understand what all the hype is after watching all of Tika Tik. So I'm just trying to like kind of window shop.
Sure. So looking at the inn side of things, you see there are a number of tables. There is one long table kind of in the middle. Definitely a communal table for lots of people to sit at kind of at mealtime. You see there's a small stage in one corner. Not too big, but looks, good enough. Seems to have kind of good acoustics there in the corner. And the bar area where Brackhill is currently finishing up before he comes over to you. It seems very well stocked. Very well stocked. There's bottles and colors of bottles and liquids that you've never seen before. And which in your 10 plus years is seems pretty impressive. But you also see people, having their kind of early morning breakfast, like just enjoying and laughing at it. They feel at home. You can tell they all have a sense of relaxation. Like they're not having any problems whatsoever.
Can I Can I pull up next to one of those and just ask, are you regulars?
Yeah, so you pull up to, there are a couple of dwarves here that you kind of pull up to, and they say, oh, yes, absolutely. This is, Brackhill runs a fine establishment here. It's one of our favorite places.
First time.
Welcome in. Definitely, definitely try out some of his breakfast. It's excellent.
Yeah.
And you know,
Was that
if
excellent or excellent?
Excellent.
Oh my God.
The other one rolls his eyes and is like, "Oh my gosh, we just got off the night shift. You'll have to excuse him." He says, "Yeah, but yeah, and if you hang around for a bit, Brackhill may reward you with a free sampling of his personal brew here. It's called Nostal."
Nostal. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's if you ever pay for it, which he doesn't often charge, but he doesn't. It's usually only rare that he actually offers it.
Okay.
But it's worth it. It's worth
Yeah.
it.
I also see there's a stage back here. How good is the talent?
Oh, that's pretty fair, I'd say. I'd say the only other places with competing talent, mind you, are the Luminous Lute. Sometimes has
Heard of it.
some. The bard that's playing there, I believe he's scheduled to play here in the Hearth and Hammer later this evening. He has some connection with Brackhill and Wiltix, I believe. So
I've heard good things.
yeah. I mean, I have not heard him myself, but I have heard that he's quite good. Has a fantastic show. It's not just the music, mind you. So, but yeah, I'm curious to see it. They often, bards often come in and will play in multiple taverns throughout the city. But this one has only played in the Luminous Lute, and then is supposed to have a unique, one night only kind of experience here at the Hearth and Hammer. So,
Well, call me intrigued.
yeah, you
appreciate that.
should definitely come back. I know there's going to be a crowd, so.
Well, you got me. I brought a friend in with me. You probably saw her walk in. She's more into the purchasing and procurement side of things. What can you tell me normally sells out here? Like what is a popular what's a popular item that people seek here at the Hearth of Hammer?
Oh my, well, Wiltix, he's the proprietor
I've heard his name.
on the other side. It's hard to say. He doesn't often have the same things.
Interesting.
Some very pricey, others, children can come in and buy some of the little gadgets that he brings. They're not expensive, and he offers them, gives them a sense of, being a grown-up, coming in and spending some of their hard-earned allowances to get these. But they're often quite marvelous trinkets, even the things that he gives to the children. But yeah, he is he's definitely one of the better tinkers, and has a bit of some of the other as well. He's not just tinker, but seems to be well traveled. Has knows a bit of magic, mind you.
Well, I appreciate the information. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. But yes, like I said, be sure to stick around and see if you get some of that the Nostal brew there. It's like I said, it's worth it.
Absolutely.
So
I'm gonna take 2 gold pieces out of my pocket and put it on the counter and slide them towards who I was just talking to.
they both kind of like raise an eyebrow on their side. Well, thank you kindly, friend. Makes it into a work evening that much sweeter. So, take care.
Hope this finds you well in your travels. I get up and I start kind of following wherever Tika Tik went.
Okay. Yeah, you head back in there, and Tika Tik, at this point you've been watching, and the apprentice is has taken notice of you, and do you try to communicate with this young male gnome at all?
I think when she realizes that he's looking at her, she's probably like, nope, by all means, continue. She's, just really watching. I think she probably tried and say like, yesterday I was here with Wiltix. I was watching him. Can I watch you? Okay.
It kind of takes him a minute, but then he kind of understands, like, oh yes, you may watch, absolutely. Occasionally he kind of glances at you, like, see if you're still watching, but he's just working on these small little devices. You're not really quite sure what they are, but there is definitely kind of some intricate gear work on the inside. So, but after a while, 15 minutes or so of conversation, you do see that Erebus return. And
Could I use an insight roll to see if I can figure out what he's trying to do with it?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna be a 4.
Okay.
Sorry,
Not quite,
it's,
not quite
no, I was
sure.
joking. It was a 14. It was a 14.
Okay.
I was joking. I was like, I'm gonna roll it. It's gonna be a 4.
Okay.
It's a big difference.
That is a big difference. So as far as what he's trying to do, you can tell that he is not repairing per se, but he is manufacturing these 3 items actually. And so he's actually got pieces laid out on one side, and then these 3 items, and he's kind of like working on all 3 at the same time. And he is taking a few pieces, putting them on one, putting them in the other, putting them in the other. And then he'll get out some clamps and kind of and screwdrivers and tighten them down on the inside. And they look like these boxes, these kind of like metal boxes. Not big, mind you, but big enough for you. And he, for that matter, because he's a gnome. That even though it's not very big, it's still like, sticking his arm into it kind of thing. And you can tell that it has like these kind of like 2 slots on top. And he's taking these like metal coils and he's kind of like putting them in there. And then you just continue to watch him for a while.
You can't hear me whistle. Can you? Can you hear me whistle?
No, can't hear you whistle.
Oh, dang it.
But
He's gonna
he gets your attention. Okay.
The
Yeah.
weasel on the mulberry bush, the monkey cherry. Like she's doing that, like pretending like, is that what you're doing? Is you're making little?
No,
little,
you don't think so. You don't think so. It doesn't look quite like that. No. So like I said, it's almost like a little metal box, kind of rectangular, but it doesn't have a lid. It looks like there's 2 opening holes in the top, and he's kind of like, again, gnome. So he's like small, hands and fingers, and he's reaching in and he's like putting some things in it. And then you notice there's like a little lever on the side that like goes, kind of thing, and he kind of tests it. And you hear something kind of like making a sound of something moving inside. And then he finally reaches under the desk and he kind of eyes you a little suspiciously for a second. And then he kind of slides the box back towards him a little bit. He takes out a box and he kind of opens it up. And he takes out this little glowing crystal, actually. And he like turns the box upside down to where he can see the bottom of it. And it's facing away from you, so you can't quite see what he's doing. And he kind of reaches in, and you see it affixed to it. And then he sets it back on top, and he hits something on the side, and you hear this kind of like... And then it stops. Like, you don't hear the sound, but it's like almost like a powering up kind of thing.
Okay.
And Erebus would be here by now as well.
I think she's gonna kind of pull back a little bit, like
Yeah. So there are these blue crystals that he pulled out, and then he says, I think I got it. He like quickly does it to the other 2 as well, and then he says, all right, guess we'll see if it works. He reaches over, kind of bends down, picks it up. Or he gets down, walks out of the room. He kind of scoots them back to the edge of the counter to where they're a little out of reach for you. But he walks basically through a back door, like back going over to the inn. It isn't gone, but like 10 seconds. Comes back, and he's carrying a platter with a loaf of bread. And he walks in, and he takes a piece of bread, and he sticks it in the top. He sticks it in the top, and then he takes the crank and goes, plunk, and it goes, shook, and it slides into it. And you hear, at this point, you hear this kind of like, hum. And then after, about a minute and a half, ka-chunk, it like springs back up.
Does it have
and the bread
Hearth
pops
Hammer
up.
logo burned on the side of the bread?
Totally does. Totally does. And he says, it works.
That's good.
And he takes it out and he like takes a bite of it and he's like, yes. Perfect warmth. Not too burnt, mind you. So yes, he's made a toaster essentially. So
I like it.
but after that, Wiltix soon comes in, and he talks with his apprentice there, who is talking about, he was able to successfully replicate it, and he was able to kind of, power it on, and then it worked. And Wiltix gives him, attention for a couple minutes. And he says, very well, very well. Well, I'm going to continue with my guest here, who was also a client. She is the one who brought in the most interesting firearm the other day. And he's like, oh, that was your... Now he like makes the connection, and the apprentice is like, oh, that was very interesting. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that in. That's I cannot wait to read, hear what Wiltix has to say about it. He was quite impressed. So, and Wiltix is like, very well, go back to your duties, and he like scurries off to the back. Erebus, again, you see this older gnome, all white hair except for one stripe of kind of like a reddish brown, like kind of the reverse of when you see like kind of like the aging male who has like their normal hair color and like a shock of white. Total opposite of that. Almost like maybe he received a little bit of an electrical shock and it turned all the rest of his hair white or something. But very wizened in kind of his mannerisms, and he says, well, hello, I see Tika has brought a friend with her today. My name is Wiltix Windgrip. What is yours?
I've heard good things about you. I'm Erebus. Nice to meet you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you, Erebus. We are working on this wonderful project that Tika has brought, this firearm.
I'm sure she has.
Yes, she is very excited, as am I. It's not often I get to work on such new and innovative designs, mind you, especially none that I did not originate myself. But yes, are you just accompanying Tika today? Is there anything particular you were looking for?
Yeah, we actually go back. So we're accompanying each other for the long haul. It seems kind of nudge her.
Good. Parts of the Vigo's Amigos, I believe. Is that the correct term?
Please don't say that again. But
listen, I have got to figure out what Vigo's Amigos would be in sign language. That's my homework this week.
Yeah,
that's my homework.
homework.
How I sign Vigo's Amigos. That's it.
Right there. I'm surprised you heard of us. But yes.
Well, Tika
One and the same.
Can be quite communicative when she wants to be. So she's been very excited about this as well.
Yeah.
So yes, if you want to continue observing, we I believe, and he turns to you, Tika, at this point. He says, "I believe in my thinking last night, your device did keep me up thinking quite long into the night, which I don't mind saying is one of my favorite things to." Have new things to ponder. But I came up with a few design ideas, and I believe that you will like them. And he kind of rolls it out. He's got like some papers that he rolls out to show you, and the detail in his drawings when he left and spent evening hours working on this. You can tell he worked on it all night, pretty much. He shows you like the designs for the different kinds of ammunition for the bullets, and for his ideas for some of the more useful spells that he plans to enchant on them. He communicates that with you, and obviously we can work that out later together. You're muted,
Of course.
I think.
Yep.
But yeah, he starts going over all those plans. And Erebus, as you watch, you get the sense that Wiltix is truly intrigued and just joyfully engaging in this process with Tika. He also is explaining a lot to Tika, kind of how almost like a master would to an apprentice, and she is just drinking it in. You can tell she is enthralled by this, entire thing now. He also begins. He also, at one point, Tika, he does say, I do have some information, Tika, my dear, that I would love for you to take with you. I know you won't be here long, but I believe you'll find this instructive. And he has this small book that he passes over to you. And it is, has some artificer runes on it. It's kind of the beginner's guide to artificery, by Wiltix
Nice.
Windgrip.
Nice.
It's like,
Love it.
he says,
Manual.
yeah, and he's like, these are, let me put it this way. Had you learned anywhere else, you might have gone a different direction. But for beings such as ourselves, for those of us of small stature, but high intelligence, I would say this is probably more to your liking. And these are some of the tips of things that I experienced myself that I found did and did not work. So hopefully that will help you out as well. So he slides that over to you. So and then you just continue working through later in the day. Erebus, about lunchtime. Well, first you were brought one of the most delicious breakfasts. It rivaled even the Skolache. The Skolache. Here's the thing: the Skolache was amazing because it was, like the pastry of the Skolache was the best you've ever had as far as pastries go, but the sheer quality of the full breakfast platter that was brought to you, it was hard to compete. It's not really a comparison per se. It's like, going to a cafe and having a full breakfast and then having like the best crescent roll wrapped around a hot dog that you've ever had.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's brought to you. And then when it comes lunchtime, and that was brought to you by one of the other servants. But at lunchtime, you all are still there, and Brackle himself comes by and kind of looks over, and he is almost as tall as you. And for dwarfs, it's pretty tall. I know you're not tall, but he walks in.
Relatively, yeah.
And he says, I see you came with our young friend here, and she's definitely gotten Wiltix's attention.
She has.
So, well, I find it best just not to get involved and get in their way when they get to talking about things. But since you're here, might as well try one of these. And he reaches over and hands you a mug of something. He says,
"What am I looking at?"
So you're looking at just kind of one of the house mugs, by the way. But you
Can you pour that
see
in the never
there.
ending and then just keep
Damn
coming
it!
never ending out?
Damn it, CJ. Damn it. All right, continue.
But yeah, he hands it to you and says, I think you'll find this to your liking. Erebus, describe for me some sort of drink from your homeland.
Okay. Something
that you've not had since, maybe, not as a 10, 12-year-old, probably very often, but
sure.
Even tasting it a little bit as you were older, while there were still some of the, other elders from your homeland there.
Yeah, it's a drink. It's a drink called the Valenix Vale, and it's got this like thick viscosity to it, almost like caramel. Not too sweet, where a couple sips and you're done with it, but it's rich, flavorful, more of a toasted, resembles that of tree bark kind of aftertaste, kind of a nutty taste, but earthy, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Something that like just sits in you like a mead.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, as he hands you the drink, you didn't notice any of that in the drink. But as you brought it up to your lips, it was almost like immediately the smell hit you right before it touched your lips, and you start tasting almost that exact flavor that you remember. But at the same time, and as you like bring it down because you did not expect that, it at that point, as instead of being the kind of just like normal liquid viscosity that you had seen as he handed it to you, it has the kind of slower movement of the Valenix veil. And you kind of take a sip and drink it, and it's not just that it reminds you of that, but you are hit with thoughts and images of home in such a comforting way, but not in a sad way, not in a way that makes you mourn the loss of your homeland, but rather a feeling of comfort and relaxation that you have not felt since before that time. And it almost staggers you because of how long you have been guarded and feeling lost. You realize before you even realize it, you're sitting on a stool that Brackle had actually pushed under you before you fell. He kind of pats you on the back gently and says, I understand what that might have been, and I wanted to be prepared. For many, it is something that is reminiscent of home and comfort. But for an elf such as yourself, well, I hope that it brings back a little of the peace you once knew. And he slowly turns and walks back to the other side.
Yeah, I mean, if he's turned and walked to the other side, I'm without words. I set the mug down and I just sit in silence, maybe like a single tear, not happy or not unhappy like you described, but just like the overwhelming of emotions. And I'm just gonna sit in thought.
Okay. Yeah. Watching Wiltix and Tika is gone from your focus at the moment, and you just feel, even as you take it, maybe a few minutes later, and still almost unbelieving, take a sip again. You also realize that it wasn't that full, that you got the sense of it was filled just to the right amount for what you would expect. So you sit there and ponder and feel things that you haven't felt in a long time. And even, like he said, a sense of peace. Lorys and Vigo, both of you give me a roll. D20, straight roll.
17.
Okay.
Three.
Literally 3 from both ends. I love it. Okay. So, for the first hour or so that you're watching, Vigo, you get bored pretty fast. Because at the beginning he's not really doing much that kind of piques your interest. You just see him inspecting it and taking measurements and writing things down, and But Lorys, you continue to observe him and you're paying closer attention. You get the sense that he has, after about an hour to 2 hours, he's figured out, at the very least, his estimate of the units of time that it is using. But that's as far as you've gotten. As far as once it gets to about lunchtime. Continuing on, though.
Vigo starts asking, what are you doing? About every 3 to 5 minutes after a while.
Yes, He and realizing it's close to lunchtime, he's like, let's get some lunch in here for you, shall we? I'm continuing. I believe that I'm close to figuring out the unit of time. It is quite interesting. The different hands actually record different units of time, but rather than hours and minutes, it's more like years and decades, and then months, but not months, more like seasons. It's kind of somewhere between the two, between months and seasons on the shortest one. So it's not very precise according to anything I know, but yes, it's quite fascinating. I think we'll be able to potentially get some more information soon, but this is a quite intricate clock, and like I said, quite old.
Would anything that he said about seasons and months, but something in between, that's not like maybe what would be our modern day time, would any of that like spark something that I would have read about or seen referenced in that old journal that I had been reading through?
Give me a history check, and I will say with advantage and a D4. And you do get that plus
Got
one
a
because of
natty
your
20.
Okay, all
Or
right.
if it matters, is a 3.
Okay, and then a plus one. Or what's your history? You have a plus to history at all?
Yeah, +1.
Okay, is that from your knowledge of the book, or is that just in general?
That's my natural history.
So then it would have been a 25 total.
Oh yeah, because another +1 is the other.
Yes.
Yep.
So, as far as you remember, it wasn't so much a mention of it, but you think maybe that the odd dating system that the author used might line up with this, because it was, we're talking a 500 to 800-year-old book that you were reading. It wasn't quite dated the same. You don't know if that was because of a certain, it would be like in the month, in this month, in this year, and you don't know what those were considered, essentially. So, but you do think maybe that's a similar calendar, if you will. So,
okay. Well, I kind of mentioned that to him. I say like, hey, I think that maybe sounds similar to something that I've seen in this old journal, and I'll kind of show him. Like I have the journals in my bag, so.
Okay, so you actually pull it out and show him.
Yeah, I say like, this looks to similar dates if that helps you kind of make sense of it.
And though he doesn't really understand it and has not ever heard of it, he does.
Line up numbers,
he does. Yeah, he notices it has the same number of what you all are calling months, essentially. That there's basically 8 of them in a year, as opposed to kind of your typical 12-month calendar. And so yeah, he kind of takes note of that and begins continuing on with his research. So, all right. Coming back around.
So we take him to lunch?
I think he ordered out lunch, essentially, because he wanted you to stop bothering him.
Questions.
Actually, they might have
That was
sent
going to be my next move.
They might have
to invite him
they
for
might
lunch.
have they might have actually sent you to get the lunch. Vigo, here's some money. Go get some lunch. Yes. Yeah, he was. I think he probably was even like, lunch is on me. Lunch is on me. And he's like, he gives you money. There's a great place. Not the close one. Not the close one. It's the one on the far side of this district. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So he expects you to be gone for like an hour. So, Okay.
Okay, I do it.
All right. All right.
run.
Well, for the sake of the episode, we continue throughout the day. Tika and Erebus, you sit there in Wiltix's shop. And as it comes to towards the end of closing, you and Wiltix are, finishing up, essentially. He thinks he's made a few adjustments to accept all of the ammunition that he's created for the time being. And he says he's going to replicate it as well. He says, I'm going to work on it here as well, Tika. And I'm going to maybe test out some more, some different components to see if we can't use some of these other things for magical means. But yes, he says, I believe that we've had enough. If you will come back tomorrow, he basically hands over one each of the bullets that he's given you, and then says that he should have molds done by tomorrow for them. So that way you'll be able to craft them and essentially fire off your spells using this. So, so yes, you have essentially received. What do we call it? What's it called again?
I don't remember now.
We have turned your Sparrowhawk into. We'll come up with a name. It'll be the magical Sparrowhawk of something. So
Right.
Go with the World of Warcraft. Where it's like of the whale, of the they pick like random like of the blank. There's like I swear it's like auto generated. So no, we'll have a name for your pistol next week, as well as he said in the morning he would have that. So Erebus, you eventually recover from your comfort, not to the quite sense of being back on high alert, but you basically kind of get over the initial shock of the emotions and the comfort and the just relaxation. Is there anything else that you do while you're there?
Am I with Tika Tik, or is she in another?
No, you're with her. Basically, she's had a stool, but she's been like have you ever noticed like an excited child sit at a bar where they're just like up and down and up and down, and they're standing on the stool and they're on the stool and they're standing on the stool and they're on the counter and they're standing on that has been Tika for the entirety of the day.
Tracking. I think I'd offer some of the drink if I have any of that the mead left. Does it like change when I give it to Tika to try, or is it the?
So you're trying to give her like the last sip kind of thing?
Yeah,
or?
just
okay.
I'm trying to see what she thinks of it.
Sure.
Curious what happens.
Tika, do you accept?
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Okay.
So
Let's go.
Fully anticipating that it will be exactly like it was yesterday. Like that.
Okay.
That is her full anticipation.
Okay. He hands it over, and when you look at it, it looks a little different. It's a little bit thicker. And so you're kind of like, like, is this only good for one time, kind of thing? But you tip it up, and you're trying to get that last drop, and because it's thicker, kind of got that honey consistency. It's taking a second to get down to your lips, like when you're like really trying to get that drip. But as soon as it touches your lips, Tika, is almost exactly what you had yesterday.
Oh
With
man, I
just
was gonna get read
a
his
little
mind,
bit.
his memories. That would have been
Just a little bit of a sense of honey at the end. Other than that, exactly like what you had the day before.
Okay. All right.
So, and it kind of gives, again, because it's just like the last couple drops, it just kind of makes you feel warm and comfortable, and not quite the sense of of being at
Yeah.
home. But yeah, so
Okay.
but yeah.
Are you wanting to stay and check out this bard performance we're hearing so much about, or are you ready to take off?
I defer to you. Like, what do you want to do? Like, I've done everything I've wanted to do today. It's you've sat here and watched the whole time.
I mean, I would love, but I kind of want to get with the other guys and bring them on. Like, should we get them and bring them? Forget them.
Now
That's
she would
love
say
right there.
she would offer. Would you like me to go find them? I don't want you to. You stay. You want me to go find them?
So you basically say stay to wait for the bard, and I'll go get them
yeah.
and come back. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you go and you try to round them up. I would say that you could definitely find them. I mean, again, you've been there all day, Tika. You've put in a full 10 hours worth of work at this point. But yeah, it's getting close to dinner time. You go back to the shop or to the thing, check on Pit Brother, throw him, one of the couple of the Skolaches that you had saved for him. And he, devours them, obviously. Skol, you're still there. I'm assuming you're still there at the moment. It's not late into the evening yet. It's like, sun's just starting to go down. About to be dinner time. Tika comes back. Tika, what do you convince?
Convince them to follow me.
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you tell him when you come back?
So I kind of eat. I use my symbol for Erebus, which is like
A middle finger.
and Erebus wants us
Crown.
yes,
Crown, yes.
His Highness has requested us to come eat at the Hearth and Hammer. Like all of us. There's a show. There's gonna be a show. It's gonna be top notch.
Yeah, definitely. Erebus got that show food I could eat.
Like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
really good. Not like your stuff. Like it's really good food.
Oh no!
I didn't say that. I didn't say it. It was-
I feel like Austin wants to give an insight check.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, would he just toss her? Like,
Just like throw
Punch
her
her.
out. Yeah.
and she's just like pretty high up there, and then just kind of place her back down. Don't just let her fall and hit the ground. I'll let her fall down.
Okay. Yeah. Easy enough. You guys go in search of Vigo and Lorys. You guys have been there not quite as long, but just like basically you've probably been there like 5 hours or so. Both of you
Vigo
give me
finally gets back with lunch. Like he
Be-
finally shows back up. And it's
Hold
like, let's go.
Dripping with sweat. Man, that was far away.
no, but both of you give me a roll again one more time. I'll say with a D8 this time.
Where are the hash
Just
browns?
a
Did you
20?
Say just Vigo or both of us?
No, both of you.
What kind of roll do you want?
A D20 with a D8.
Okay.
Both of you can roll one each.
Should I roll as well since I'm there, or just the two of them?
You can give me a D8 for you, and you can pick who you give it to.
Okay.
You
26
see-
for Vigo.
Okay, I got
Okay.
15.
I've got one, so I will give that one to. I'll give that to Dolores.
Okay.
16.
Perfect. So you guys are in the middle of having a conversation when Tika runs in. Vigo, you notice her immediately. I mean, she comes in and she basically overhears the kind of final conversation of that this guy is giving you, and he basically says, "Yes, well, with the measurements or these odd, we'll call them kind of like almost month and a half, creations that you gave me, I believe they are correct for what this clock and how it measures time. So this one," and she points to the closest event time coming, looks like it's going to be happening in about one of those months. So it would be about 1.5 to 1 3/4 of a month from now. And he gives you kind of like the approximate, probably like a 5 to 10 day range to kind of search in for like what's happening in that range. He doesn't know of events that it could be, but he has given you a very close approximation for when it could be, within about a 10-day range. So,
So
Is
about a
there-
month and a half away, plus or minus
10
5
days. Yeah.
10
So-
days?
Is there any indication, markings or anything on the clock that indicate if these are like land based or like astronomical events?
Okay, hold on. Let me put it this way. So the one that is in the future, he doesn't quite hadn't quite figured that one out, but the one that was in the past, that it is no longer moving. There are still all these little marks on the kind of dials that each one of these connects to, and he tells you that he thinks that it stopped about 100 years ago. So
That's the most recent one in the
No.
past?
the one that's the most recent one in the past, and it's the one that's blackened and kind of charred, like it.
And so just for our knowledge out of game, that was
Essentially,
was when
that
the
coincides with the
war happened,
original.
right?
That was the original Shade Mist invasion. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay.
So. Okay. You all.
And sorry, I didn't get your name, sir. I don't
Oh.
think we did.
Well, yes.
My name's Vigo, by the way. You may have heard of Vigo's Amigos.
One of the Amigos.
Well, I have not, but
Oh,
well, actually, hold on. Let's see. I did hear little rumblings about some bear in an arm wrestling tournament.
oh, that guy. We're
That's
way
us.
more famous than that guy.
No, that's
Yeah.
us. That's
Oh.
one of the Amigos.
He's one of the other ones. Yeah.
Oh well.
Nice guy.
A supporting cast.
Let's see. Thanks, Dave. What's his name?
Come on, ChatGPT.
Yeah, why am I using a random table when I have that?
Name is Bob.
Name is Gnome Smith.
Gnome Smith.
The Smith of sorts. Gino.
Francis. He's like a Francis.
Yeah, so he says, oh, yes, absolutely. Well, I am one of the local, oh my gosh, what did I call this?
Iron.
Yeah, what is that again? Institute of Iron. I am one of
It's
the Institute of Iron's representatives here, and my name is Dabbledob Clock Twister. At your service.
On the nose.
aptly named.
Yep.
Dabble Dodd?
Dabbledob.
Dabble Dob.
Dabbledob Clock Twister. I mean, you ask for somebody good with clocks, so.
Well, we appreciate your time and your information. I give him the 6 gold.
Okay. He says, yes, absolutely. However, that was my, I mean, you would have already given him the 5 because he asked for that up front. So you just give him 1 extra?
Yeah, I gave him one extra because I said I would if he was straightforward with this.
Okay. He says, "Oh
that's
yes,
good.
absolutely. However, there's a little bit of the matter of the cleaning fee. As we did go through this, it'd be another 5 gold. We did also spend all day." And he kind of looks at you and looks at Vigo and looks at you,
Well, Vigo
like
did go get
longingly.
lunch, so I'll give him.
Yes, he
the-
did
the
pay
other
for
5
lunch
gold.
too. He gave Vigo the money to pay for lunch.
Delivery fee.
He says,
So Vigo does the thing like,
generosity.
"Oh, do you want me to, or do you
yeah,
let me get?"
yeah. And Tika's like, "Oh my
You
gosh,
want to pay
this is so
Loris, or do you want
obvious."
me to?
We'll split it.
Okay.
I'll give him the
Okay.
6. You give me the other 5.
All right. All right. So Tika, as soon as your business is concluded, Tika's like, "Come on, come on."
Let's go.
So
Just you don't have a way of
Like
I
grabbing
don't have a way of
Sorry.
finding out what the event is, do you?
he's like, "I'm sorry, we're closing. Have a good day."
She's very strong.
Yeah,
very
it's
strong.
like pushing you out. She's like closing the door and kind of pushing you as Tika's pulling you. Like, "Thank you." Click. Okay, so you all head over to the Hearth and Hammer. You all arrive, and it's quite crowded. But you see Erebus, who has reserved a table over in decently close proximity. Not quite the front row, but you see there. You notice at this point too that there is actually a small door. Not small, but there's just like a very kind of narrow like back door that for the stage for performers to maybe kind of a preparation room. And so you all are waiting, and there's people getting food and everything, and you all are very quickly served. You didn't order, but as soon as you sat down with Erebus, one of the servers brings over dinner essentially, and you sit there as you begin kind of eating and start relaying things that have happened today. And pretty soon, you hear Brackle say, "All right, for tonight's entertainment, prepare yourselves and enjoy this special one-night-only performance." And he kind of bows. He doesn't say who it is, but he just bows. You see the door open, and you see out of it come this dashing half-elf. Is covered head to toe in kind of ornately carved red leather. He has a lute that he strums, and he strums it and holds a chord, and then lets go. But the chord continues on. He strums it again, holds another chord. He picks a tune, and it's almost like every time he does it, it begins to play. And as he does that, he takes the lute with a flourish. The music still plays. He sets it down, and he pulls out 2 swords, and he begins to weave a tale of battle and intrigue. And that's where we're going to end tonight's episode.
We were hoping you would sing.
That's next episode.
Oh,
Listeners, you get to watch our DM sing next
That's
episode.
it.
Austin's really excited.
Confirmed.
Yes. Yes.
So,
That's exactly how I envisioned it.
Yep.
Right there.
so yes, we'll find out who that is next time
It's
on Hearth
Vigo's
and Hammer.
Mom?
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for this episode. We've had a good time. I hope that you have too. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Hearth and Hammer. So for now, good night and God bless.